Worth Mayor, and also the founding CEO of Fort Worth Cradle to Career and the Tarrant Through Partnership. Where's my buddy Jay McCall? So the joke with Jay and I is that I was in my living room and he was on his front porch on a recycling bin when we started T3. He needed a standing desk apparently. Jeremy, you didn't spring for a new desk, so this guy was using a recycling bin. But jokes aside, it has been a crazy ride for each of us that have been a part of the T3 journey. It really started before we became an incorporated 501c3. Please raise your hand if you're a part of that journey team across the country. I know Rose is here, Jeremy, Dr. Sines, Bill Capola, or Bill is here. Hi Bill, how are you? So many of us started the pathway across the United States to understand what was working in this type of organization and what we wanted to create for Tarrant County students. And today is really, to me, a culmination of that conversation and that journey to get us to this place. Our students in Tarrant County and in Fort Worth simply deserved better. And we believe, for a variety of reasons, the business community was an integral piece of that was missing. And thanks to the generosity of not only JPMorgan, but many of you in this room, we've made Tarrant and Through Partnership not only possible for the 6 original high schools, but now across all of Fort Worth ISD, and soon to be expanding to other ISDs in our city and in our county. Why should this matter to each of you? Because the greatness of Tarrant County and Fort Worth is simply not possible without a focus on the talent that sits in classrooms today across Fort Worth and Tarrant County. All of you they're here today, you already know the statistics that T3 has rattled off and put in each of your heads. But when only 14% of your low-income kids make it to a 2-year or 4-year credential, you simply are not succeeding. You are ignoring the wonderful students that sit in classrooms across Fort Worth that deserve our attention and deserve their talent to be harnessed and flourish here in Fort Worth. We also understand there's all this conversation around business recruitment and economic development. I'm guilty of this too. But there are students right here, and honestly, let's talk about Polly, that's right next door here. For a long time, I think these students felt like no one cared what their pathway was out of high school. I think no one was asking the right questions. Other than the hardworking principals and teachers in classrooms, I think Fort Worth in many ways had turned their back on what it looked like to have a thriving workforce and how important Fort Worth residents and Fort Worth students really were to that future. But thanks to T3 and this partnership, that has totally changed. Incredible hard work by each of you in this room. I hope today's panel discussion really re-engages you in the work at T3, gives you more promise and opportunity about what is possible in Fort Worth and Tarrant County. There's big Raj. Good morning, Raj. How are you? Let me just say this. This work is so important. And I can tell you, as many of you know no more than Jay McCall, when I decided to run for mayor, the #1 struggle I had was A, knowing how crazy the job would be and the journey would be, but B, leaving T3 behind. And I really did worry about the transition, but how fortunate we are to have this badass team in place, truly. Each of you, Richard, Chris, everyone on this team, Maria, who I stole the mayor's office, so sorry about that. You were here from the beginning. You took a chance in an organization that we didn't know was possible. Many of you took jobs and never met me in person for 6 months. So you let someone hire you behind a screen and then agree to work for an organization that was a startup. And I can promise you, if it hadn't been for names like JPMorgan and the Rainwater Charitable Foundation and North Central Texas Community Foundation, none of this would be possible. Because each of your brands associated with this organization put at ease a workforce of incredibly talented individuals that saw that the T3 partnership was not only viable, but was the future for Fort Worth and Tarrant County, for our workforce and for education. Thank you so much for letting me welcome you this morning. I'm incredibly encouraged by your attendance. I'm going to ask my good friend Rose Bradshaw to come up to the microphone and help introduce and moderate our panel this morning. Rose, thank you.
Well, here's the best mayor in the country. As Maddie said, she was there at the very beginning, and when we learned that she was going to be running for mayor, the only way we would accept losing her to T3 is knowing that we'd have your leadership of the city. So thank you, Maddie. And it means so much to T3 to know that we have a champion in such an important role. So thank you for that. So good morning to everyone. What a great room. I just want all of you to just look around and see who's here, because this is the magic of T3. We have our corporations. We have JPMorgan Chase. David, thank you. Michelle is here with us. JPMorgan Chase is here. Lockheed Martin, Bank of America, Hillwood, You are all huge economic drivers in this region, and the fact that you are here and taking such a leadership role is going to mean everything to the success of this effort. We have our ISDs here, Fort Worth ISD, Arlington, Castleberry, Crowley, and Lake Worth, all with us today. Fort Worth ISD is taking the lead in many ways because they were just our first partner in Fort Worth. But all of you are coming to the table, and that's going to be so important across our county. We have our T3 board members. If you're a T3 board member, if you could raise your hand. Thank you all. We've had some long meetings to help make this happen. I've traveled across the country, but it's been just huge for this effort. Brent Beasley, Fort Worth Education Partnership, I believe, is with us. And that's to let you know that this isn't just about focused on, right now it's on ISDs, but it's every seat in Tarrant County being a quality education seat for our community. We have great panelists, so let's get right to that. Let's see, we have first up Natalie Young-Williams. Natalie, can you come on up and join us? Natalie is the Executive Director of the T3 Partnership. David Nolette, Managing Director, Market Manager of JPMorgan Private Bank, Fort Worth Region. Jeremy Smith, President of the Rainwater Charitable Foundation. Troy Johnson, VP of Enrollment at UT Arlington. And David Symes, Chief Innovation Officer at Fort Worth ISD. It's a very big job. So we're going to kick off as we all get settled. I think you have your microphones there, and whenever you're ready to talk, you can just turn it on. But we'll kick off with Natalie. Natalie's background, she couldn't be more ideally suited for this role. So she spent over a decade helping failing districts to get into turnaround, schools that really were just on their knees. She worked at the Edison Project. I don't know if you recall that, but it was a really innovative effort in the 90s and 2000s, and had made some incredible strides with failing school districts. She then pivoted and was able to create this incredible pipeline from college to business opportunity through Paul Quinn College. Now we're trying to look at a district that's struggling, many districts that are having a challenging time, and trying to help them connect with our economy and with employers in town. So Natalie, you arrived just in time. We're so grateful to have you here. What was it about the vision of T3 that really excites you and makes you think this is the place where you're going to make a difference at this point in your career?
Rose, thank you for that question. What excites me most about T3's vision is the opportunity to create pathways to economic prosperity for Tarrant County students and their families. And I think the way we go about doing that is evidenced by all of the individuals that we have in this room, and also the individuals that are sharing this platform with me. We have Fort Worth ISD representing K-12 education. We have UTA representing higher education. We have the Rainwater Charitable Foundation representing philanthropy. And we have JPMorgan Chase and the investment in T3 representing the business sectors. And I think what's amazing is the power of the impact, an impact network that comes together when all of these sectors converge. And it creates endless possibilities for Tarrant County students and their families and for community empowerment. And I'm just thrilled to be a part of that intersection.
Great, and so if you think about it, I know you've all heard me say this, but I have to say it one more time. We know that change happens when we have good information, strong relationships, and enough money to get the job done, which is what JPMorgan is making happen today. But there are gaps. There are other ways people can support the effort and participate. Can you lift up ways in which the folks in this room can use their skill sets and their relationships and networks to support your work?
Absolutely. When I first started with T3, one of the things that was really important for me was to be a really good listener. And so I spent a lot of time the first few months listening to our partners, listening to our ISDs, listening to our business partners and individuals in the community. And what I found, and our parents and our families, what we found as a team was that there really is more of a communication or information gap. Parent and families want to be well informed of all of the pathways that are available in ways that are clear, concise, and easy for them to see their children in those pathways. And then the business community really wanted to know where are the students that are working hard in our ISDs, completing certifications and going on to college, and how can we merge the two of those together. And so as a team, we started thinking about what's that simple and elegant solution. And if we could have businesses just create a profile and let us know, what are your current positions that are open right now? What are the requirements? Is it a high school diploma? Is it certification? So we can begin leveraging the power of that information to connect them to our district partners. And so you all are here in this room, and you will have an opportunity. There will be a call to action for you to join us in creating those pathways for our students.
Great, and all of you will have good ideas that we haven't thought of yet. So please, as you think of ways in which you can connect to this work and provide pathways for our students, this is the team that you're gonna wanna connect with. So now we turn to David at JPMorgan. I can't see you, David, but hello there. David, first, thank you. And really, this is, as Jeremy said, a long time coming. This is really a cumulative $2 million investment that JPMorgan has made in our community. And for me, the thing that's always been most impressive about the way David operates in this market is that JPMorgan Chase's philanthropy is not about a handout. It truly is a hand up. And you remind us regularly that it's not just about being charitable. This is a smart investment that our community requires at this time. So thank you. To be stepping up to this scale, not very important, but also the other thing that I'm so impressed by is that you are thinking hard about how your workforce can get better connected to this effort. So can you share with us how you look at this as a way to really create opportunity for all of Tarrant County and the way that JPMorgan is stepping up for that?
Thank you, Rose. About 5 or 6 years ago, we did a report analyzing Dallas and Fort Worth, really to identify where middle skill jobs existed, but the people were not. And frankly, we identified a very significant employment gap in healthcare, manufacturing, and frankly, defense. No surprise if you think about Fort Worth, Texas, right? But when you look at that and you're looking at the strength of our city and our organization, companies of any magnitude, but certainly of our size, need to make a significant investment. And why is that? We're not trying to train bankers. Jeremy wouldn't let that happen. We're trying to fill these open positions and build an awareness. Because when I've gone to different high schools, and I'm an Arlington Heights kid, so I can speak to Fort Worth ISD a little bit, so if you're from Pasco, don't get mad at me. But with that, these jobs are available, they're there. The compensation that people can get with a certification, that was the thing that blew me away. It could be a 6-month, 12-month, even 18-month certification, can take them into a great job in healthcare that is open and going unfilled every single day. And there are tens of thousands of those jobs in our community right now. And how are we, as the business community and the philanthropic community, going to be able to recruit new businesses if we can't even fill the jobs we have and if we don't have the trained workforce? And it's good for our community. You have less crime, people feel good about themselves, but to me, exactly what Natalie said, it's a huge awareness gap is what we identified, which is why we wanted to make a significant investment. And for us, you know, I'm probably not supposed to say this out loud, but I will. Our total philanthropy on an annual basis for our firm in Fort Worth before this first gift was $800,000. And we got $1 million because from a firm, you can only imagine, there's no bureaucracy at JPMorgan Chase. The level of approvals we had to go through, my friend Michelle Thomas did all the work, and I just get to smile and sit on the stage. But we were able to show the importance to our community because our customers are here. You know, we've been here through predecessor firms for 149 years. I think we should probably make a big investment, right? It's really good for our community. And it's good for our customers and our employees. We have 3,000 employees just in Fort Worth, Texas. And then there's Dallas too, in Plano. But that's really how I think about it should be. So what I hope is businesses of any size will see these types of gifts made by all the companies you mentioned and many others and say, it's my turn to step up. Because we're gonna need that to keep this going.
Absolutely. You know, David, you mentioned that report, and I think my team all knows that report because I ran around the halls of our office for 5 years. I first learned about it from Michelle. But if you look up this report, because it puts a spotlight on IT careers and healthcare careers, and it specifically talks about how much those wages will pay and the dearth of people ready to take on those roles. So we did not have an investment-ready vehicle here in Fort Worth until T3 came along. So it's really like you were the canary in the coal mine to go down and say, hang on, here's what's coming. And then the community rallied around to develop something that really is the stars aligning, I think, for the opportunity you pointed out. I also love the way that, as David's talking about that sort of matching opportunity, that's exactly what Natalie mentioned. All of you can put a profile together to tell us what your needs are so that we can make sure that students are prepared. Okay, Jeremy, on to you. So Jeremy, as you all know, is the leader of Rainwater Charitable Foundation. The investments they've made in public education have just been, unprecedented in our community. There was something really special about this opportunity, and the way that Rainwater went about it. You heard about the tour. They put together a national tour, so we could go to Georgia, we could go to upstate New York, we could go to Tennessee to see who's doing this best. And believe me, we had a lot of deep discussions over some wine now and then about what was right for Fort Worth. We weren't gonna just cut and paste. We had to figure out what was right for Fort Worth. So Jeremy, take us back to what it was that compelled you to say, this is where we start. And I know Mayor Parker was at the table, many others that were kind of at those foundational conversations. Describe what that was about.
Yeah, I'm gonna pretend like I'm a politician and answer a different question. I will come back to your question though, but first I really want to publicly thank JPMorgan, who has been phenomenal throughout this entire, before we got started, right? The report that you mentioned, the New Skills at Work, which I do recommend, anyone who hasn't read that report to read it, because I think it still is a wonderful articulation for the challenge that we have in our community in terms of the skills gap and some, a pathway to solving it. So, like you, Rose, when I first read that, we started emailing it to everyone saying we really need to have a conversation here, what are we doing? So thank you for that, that's one thing. And then, David, early on, when we were just trying to figure out what we were gonna do, I remember we had a really interesting and hard conversation with you and Mark, I believe, came to the office and gave us some really good feedback. And basically said, I think Jay was in the room and Frosty and Sarah Temple, if they're here, they were in the room. It was like, this is great, but not enough. We were really focused at the time on, kind of the 4-year pathway. It wasn't broad, and which is really good feedback. We've got all kinds of jobs open in this community, all kinds of pathways, and we really need holistic focus on meeting students and families kind of where they are, helping direct them to where they want to go. And then of course the 2 $1 million gifts. Thank you, Michelle Thomas, for all of the thought partnership and leadership and helping us figure out how we could take our nascent ideas that were unproven, again, based on what we thought were very leading practices that we had seen from around the country, but many of them unproven here in Tarrant County. So thank you for the bet that you guys placed in T3 and then doing it again. So that's just huge. So thank you. Okay, to your point about so for us, this was like, Jay and I used to say this all the time. This is like a no-brainer, slam dunk. This was so easy to get our trustees on board. And I'm so grateful for Maddie, because I think, in her role as chief of staff at the time, completely saw this. Like, so number one, it's like, it's not a zero-sum game. Like, we all win when we invest in our own talent so that they can grow up and take on the jobs that our community that are going unfilled. The pie grows bigger for all of us. So that was one thing, and again, Maddie saw that very clearly. Number two, there's a role for us all to play. Each of us, whether you are an employer or you're working at an academic institution or a school district or just a mentor in someone's, a young person's life, there's something that each of us can do to help ensure that the young people in our lives are on a pathway to doing something incredible in our community.
In talking about the various parties that had to come to the table, I think if you look back not only at the Rainwater Foundation team, but then passing it off to the best nonprofit team in the business, and you can't tell anyone else I said that because I could get in trouble with some other nonprofits. But you look at the talent assembled for T3 to execute, and their charge was nothing less than engage parents, engage students, get the school district on board, get 12 school districts on board. And by the way, we can't do anything unless the corporations are there at the end of this relationship. Oh, sorry, school districts, community college, all the universities. So this is what this team is integrating and bringing together. And so I think about that effort and all those parties that need to be at the table. So if you think about why business, I just would love to hear your thoughts on business and how important that is for them to be here in the room.
Yeah, I mean, we did some very kind of back of the envelope math early on, and by our calculation, if we can get just I think 18,000 students graduate in Tarrant County every year. If we can help just 1,000 of those get onto a pathway that is aligned to where the jobs are, that's $1 billion every single year, and that's a gift that like keeps on giving year after year. So for us, and it keeps on giving because then more businesses want to come here because we have a more talented workforce, and jobs that are going to people who are moving here. No offense to those who have just moved here, we're glad you're here. But we want those jobs to also go to the people who have grown up here. And so there's a huge ROI that is ours for the taking if we can organize ourselves. But it's going to take, and I think this is what Natalie and David are saying, it's going to take partnership from corporations, partnership from higher education institutions and school districts, philanthropic partners. We all need to pull together to make sure it's really clear to our young people, it's really clear to their families what their pathways are, so that we can help usher them into whatever it is they want to do.
I just am reminded too, as you said that, about what a parent said to one of the T3 team. So when we know better, we build better. So just, I think all the way through our community, that's just a great mantra for us. Okay, so let's turn to David Sines. David, as Chief Innovation Officer at Fort Worth ISD. I love his title, and this is the man who's doing that hard work in a large bureaucratic system. And he's assembled a team, again, that is really pushing to make sure we can implement this program. So David, you helped develop this program, you were on that tour, and then you helped to design this effort. And you and Bill Coppola, who's here with us, Bill, it's from Tarrant County College. When we would come up with these great ideas, they'd say, okay, hang on now. Here are all the reasons why that seems very logical. Here are all the roadblocks that might be in our way. And I know for Fort Worth ISD as our foundational partner, and the place that could have we call you the linchpin, because nothing moves forward without David and the Fort Worth ISD and the ISD partners who are all in this room. So can you talk about how we designed this program to remove the barriers that you typically see for students?
Certainly, and first of all, once again, let me echo the thanks to JPMorgan Chase, all the partners, all you guys up here on the panel, and every single one of you. I just want to give you sincere thanks from an educator from Fort Worth ISD. During a time where, you open the page and you see education on the front news and not for good things, and seems to be by plan, this is refreshing. This is refreshing. And before I get to the question, I'm going to give you one piece of homework, and I'm an educator, so I give homework. If you really could, if you could raise your hand if you know an educator or a teacher in your life, raise your hand. There you go. Your homework is this is Teacher Appreciation Week. We see all the articles of our people leaving the field. Thank a teacher, please. They do a lot of amazing work for our students. Each of us can remember a teacher that we had growing up, and that's why we're here. That's why I'm here, certainly. So I wanted to take the opportunity first to say that and give you your first piece of homework. But now to your question, how this is helping. Collective impact is a powerful thing. The power in this room creates synergy, and that synergy leads to changing lives. Students in our schools now, students that have been through the first year of T3 and are doing amazing things at all our university partners. And that's happening because not only has the barrier of finances been removed, and if it were that simple, we'd be done. But take it from a person that had several people invest in me growing up from a little small rural town in South Texas. It takes more than just finances to make it. It takes more to get in that pathway. And that's what this partnership is doing. It's not just about the funds to be able to go to college. It's about being prepared to get to college. It's about supporting our parents and educating them as well about how to get their students to college, how to get themselves into college. And so when we talk about the impact Finances, number one, great, that's wonderful. Thankfully, we're living in a time where a lot of colleges are already making that investment as well for students under a certain threshold, which means we can use other funds for other things as well. That's one. But what you see in our buildings with T3 is people investing in students. Whether it's through our partnership with the TCU College Advisors that come into our classrooms, that come into our schools. We have Sarah Weeks here from Arlington Heights, here representing, just like she's going to be here. So let's give her a round of applause. She will tell you that without the people that has been supported by the T3 effort, we couldn't do this work. And not only that, here in Fort Worth, we had a system we were working on that was geared towards this work. T3 has been the accelerant to make that go further. So it's been able to align all these resources we have put in place. We've brought through T3 great minds to the table, whether it's Richard or Chris, and all their teams, to come together and build this synergy that allows for these pathways to become clear for our kids. And so with regards to investment in money, there's the investment in people, and there's just that sheer will that without making sure that our students are successful, we won't succeed as a city or as a county. And so I just, for me, that's been the big driver. It was exciting to be on the trips. It was exciting coming from my background to see, I had a few people. Imagine if I had an army. We have an army here. We have an army of people that's investing in students in Fort Worth and later in other districts in Tarrant County, and we're gonna be the better for it. And that's because of the time you're spending here. So I just want to be just bottom of my heart, thank you. I do take this very seriously. This is my job, but it is a calling and a career, and something that I do because someone invested in me, and now you're doing the same. Whether you're a teacher or not, you are an educator, and you do invest in our kids one way or another. You have a sphere of influence. Use it. Use it because our public education needs to be strong for us to be successful. T3 is making that happen. Each and every one is making that happen. Thank you.
Good luck to you to say no to David when he makes the case for himself. And I'll tell you exactly when that happened. I'll never forget. We travel around the country, the best programs in Tennessee. We look really hard at that. And David and Bill said, well, that's nice, but they start junior year in high school. We need to back it up. In Fort Worth, we need to start in 7th grade. We need to get our families deeply involved. And they helped to design this, knowing from the inside what the challenges are that are there. So you just made it so much stronger. Thank you, David. So now we move on to from the ISD partnership to the university partnership. And we're here with Troy Johnson. So Troy, you'll recall, is the VP of admissions for UT Arlington. They have been an incredible partner to this effort. I'm sure you've seen some of the headlines that have come by recently. But before we get to that, I'd love to hear from your perspective, Troy. You're seeing students tomorrow. We're trying to prepare students today in the high school level. And you know what the model is. What do you expect to find in the student of tomorrow? Will they be better prepared for are we addressing the core issues that you need to be addressed to give you students that are prepared for success?
Well, that's a great question, Rose, and the answer based on everything these panelists have said is yes, we're on the right path. And it goes back to the phenomenal team that started this. I might have been Jay on my porch too when Maddie called a few years ago the first time. Then Jay called, then Rachel called, and I knew quickly there was no option. that University of Texas Arlington had a role to play. And in fact, all of our universities in the community college have roles to play. And if you're with higher education, would you just raise your hand so that we can say hello? Gotten to talk to many of you. It's beautiful facility we're in. In as much as sometimes you may view universities as competing, we're really in it together, especially on this data. So when that call came in and asked us to be a partner, it really honestly wasn't the best time. We were also launching a major partnership on the other side of the Metroplex with a program you've heard of called Dallas Promise, which is different, and different in a major way because this one focuses on success in a very different kind of way from that program. That was a bold choice, and that was probably a tipping point for us, that we knew we wouldn't have more resources to run this program, to partner, to be a great partner. But we knew after a lot of of debate on campus administratively, especially in my staff. Could we do this? Could we be a good partner? To steal a phrase, we thought about it and we knew it was go time for us. And we had to get in because UTA has a role to play. We're in Tarrant County. We have 42,000 students. We're a university that's committed to both access and excellence. And, I want to recognize our College of Business Dean, Harry Dombrowski, is here, a phenomenal administrator and also a phenomenal philanthropist, he and his family here in this area. And that kind of heart and soul really makes a difference in these partnerships. And so we joined in, and I think we might have surprised Rachel, because not only did we come in at the minimum, but after a little while, we came in bigger than we originally were asked. And so that's a business reminder. Always ask for more, because you might get it. But in this case, we were relieved. We weren't asked for more because we didn't know how much we could give, but we came back. Not only did we come back once, but we came back twice to give more. And this is through a programmatic offer that makes a difference in student success and choice. And we know the research shows that for low-income students and families, that the uncertainty about price, cost, how much will it take from food, from my budget, from rent to go send my child to college, that when you can demystify that it is a huge barrier remover. And so we had started at 65,000 income, and then through a program that the University of Texas system helped us with some funds, we have now raised our income threshold to guarantee tuition fees at $85,000. And that really removes a tremendous barrier. Not only the money, David, as you know, but it is the psyche, the confidence that a person can make it. And so we have that commitment. We have the commitment and are excited about the planned expansions that are underway. I look forward to more of these phone calls, and I hope that when you get called, you will respond. At UT Arlington, we have an interesting approach to partnerships, and that's of commitment. And this very meeting to me is important in so many ways, because bringing us together solidifies partnership. And as business women and businessmen, and I am one too, I have a large enterprise, large budget, 250 staff, all of that. So ROI, how much does it cost? How much will we get back? Is always the question. I understand that's your case. The bright line isn't always there between partnering and those results, right? It's not always as clear whether I go to this meeting or engage in this invitation that's been asked of me. The line is not always bright. But I will say that at UTA, we believe that line is always the best line. And so we appreciate these partnerships, whether it's directly with the ISD or it's with Bill Capola and others on Tarrant County College, or with this particular program, that partnering and committing and being willing to have the hard conversations, being willing to give. Rachel, I think we have meetings where we give and take, and that's part of a partnership too. Those all are going to make this successful. And so I hope, Rose, that gives you some insights. And again, I do want to add to David's thanks. The generosity of JPMorgan Chase is tremendous and foundational. So thanks for that.
Thank you, Troy. You know, I've been listening to Troy and thinking about that commitment on UTA's part. I know Wesleyan also has made a commitment to support the effort. But I think all of you here today can represent the highest standard of excellence. And that's what we're standing up for our students. And so with that, I'd like for you all to just answer as you will, as you care to share. This whole room is here, this whole city, this county is here. We're cheering you on, but our cheers won't make any difference unless we're actually doing something to support the work within our own sphere of influence with the resources we have. What ideas do you have for the people here and others that they know for ways that they can connect to the work? Yes, David.
I'll go first.
What's that?
So certainly the financial support is always welcome. So I'm not gonna definitely downplay that, but I'm sure other folks will speak on that, and that's why we're here. But I'll just build on that theme that we're all educators in some ways. Internships, experiences for our students is where a lot of you can provide that support. That is one of the best ways that businesses, large or small, can invest in our students. And if you want to know more about that, please contact T3 and we can help you set up those internships for our students. We have students with big dreams, and you can make those come to reality by them experiencing it. And it's like I told my former students when I was in a high school that did this, you're gonna learn a couple of things. One, you may learn you don't wanna do that, and you're not gonna spend all this money and get in debt. Or two, you're just gonna love it and you're gonna soar, you're gonna find a future employer that maybe that pays for your college, and you're on the path. And you're on the path. So for me, my call to action, ask about those internships, ask how you can provide those internships for, not only Fort Worth ISD, but all of our districts here in Tarrant County. And so with that'd be my ask right there.
Thank you, David.
Sure, I'll echo at the university and community college level, it's the same, and I want to challenge the higher education people in the room. I don't think we offer enough internships. We think in terms of jobs, but we have every kind of job in industry almost at our university, right? From facilities to food service, you name it. But this is a difference maker, and last night, Commissioner of Education spoke, and we were talking about internships and workforce in Dallas. And one of the interesting points was that there's this field of real estate, but a new piece that's real estate management or property management. And it was pointed out that there are apparently only 18 degrees in this field in the whole country in this particular area. And then the questions became, well, how can people learn about this? And one of the people said, well, that's my field, but no one ever thinks about it as a job opportunity. And so whatever field you are representing right now, wherever you're from, you have a career path. And please think seriously about how could you promote that with David, with the community college, with the universities. We've got the students seeking those opportunities. They don't always know, just like this one that I mentioned, property management kind of flies below the radar. But there's a lot of job opportunity in that field. And so we can match you all up with talented, diverse students that are ready to work with you for you.
Great, thank you, Troy. And Jeremy?
Yeah, so I agree with everything you two have both just said. I was gonna say something very similar. I think on top of that, if we could figure out as a community a way of making it as easy and transparent as possible for families and students to figure out what the internships. So step one, let's offer more internships and work opportunities. So if everyone did just a little bit more, that would be hugely impactful. But then we also need to figure out a way to make that transparent to the families who are looking for those opportunities, or in some cases have no idea this is even a career field that is open to them. So if we as a community could get really good at that, and make those investments year after year, we will put, Fort Worth kind of on the map from a, business relocation perspective. Those investments would keep paying off year after year.
And David?
Well, I'll use an example because it's easy because I can remember it. And for years, we would have a group of about 15 to 20 high school students from Trimble Tech come into the bank, and the private bank, which is probably a pretty intimidating place to walk into from a corporate setting standpoint. But we bring in those young adults and we spend a couple hours talking about financial literacy and some things like that, which we should, because we're a bank, we should be able to figure that out, right? So we do that. It's an opportunity for people across our team to get engaged with them. The point of the story is we usually have one of our head human resource folks come over from our corporate center, where we have about 2,000 of the 3,000 employees. And she always talks about entry-level jobs you could get, and this isn't meant to be self-serving, but it's a small group, just at a company like ours, right out of high school. And they're great jobs. And we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them. And we are just one representative across all the financial services industries, but across the board. I'm always just stunned, even though I expect it every time. The look on every student's face is like, are you for real? Like, I could actually do that now if I finish the last 6 months of Trimble Tech and I could get a job. And by the way, if you show up and you work hard and you do a great job, you'll advance. And we'll pay for your college. It's a pretty good gig, right? So it's just it's the amazing look on everyone's face. And this is all about the awareness, which was what this organization is doing, that's achievable like today. Like you walk the stage at Amon Carter, with your high school degree, and we've got a job for you. And so do hundreds of corporations, large and small, which I think, and you can create a career. So I know we're here to talk about certifications and post-secondary and all that, but there's so many opportunities at companies but the awareness factor, I know we've addressed it, but it's just stunning to me every single time.
Yeah. David, great point about, yes, college, when that's the right path, but there are so many opportunities around certification that we need to make clear, that can be really wonderful middle-income jobs for folks. So, thank you. And Natalie?
I would say that we are as strong as we are collectively. And so when I look out and see all of you here, you all are a part of our impact network. This is how we make these connections. And so what I think we all need is that connection. How can you provide insights, talents that you have, mentoring students, helping us navigate how we're wanting to test out, some things that we think might be elegant solutions, but perhaps there's another way to do that. So I just invite all of you all to lean in to this collective network of impact across Tarrant County. And I don't want to steal the thunder from who's gonna close out, but there will be a way for you all to take that next step. You're here, that's step one, and then there's an opportunity to take that next step as well. So thank you all for being here.
Thank you, Natalie. So no one's asking me a question, but I'm gonna tell you what I think about this. And that is something I've seen this team do so well, and that is take the hard questions. So all of you, this all sounds great, we're trying hard, we've got efforts, we've got resources, we have commitment, but it's only gonna be successful if you bring us your hardest questions and then help us think them through. And I'm looking at some of our fund holders that are here in the room, Becky and Jim Wilkes, Bob Ferguson. We've been on the line across Zoom calls. We've had the T3 team on one side, and not one side, but on the screen, and also the investors on the other side. And it's the hard questions that make the program better. And if we're missing something, tell us. Let us know how we can make sure that we're not just charging along, believing what we're telling ourselves and not really responding to this market and to what smart people in the community know and understand. So I don't know, are we gonna have time for a question or two?
We do.
Okay.
Yes.
Anyone have any hard questions? I'm sorry, I teed you up for some hard questions.
Sure, and so really what I'm hearing is, what's our internal systems that are here to support this effort?
Well, I'm looking at challenges.
Oh, challenges, okay, definitely. Well, you always have in large organizations bureaucracy. I think that's important, but I think it's still awareness. I think there is still awareness within even our own organizations, within our own teachers, our principals about, hey, let's make sure we're all pointed in the right direction. And I think that's something that in Fort Worth ISD we've been attacking head on for the last few years. And so to me, it would have to be that awareness piece, is making sure that we know what's available. There's a lot of great things going on within this type of work, not only in our district, but in all other districts around us. And we have to make sure that our internal folks know it, and they tell that story to our families as well. Kind of going back to that theme about awareness. And what we've seen from that is TEA has college, career, and military readiness metrics, saying if you meet one of these indicators, you have a better chance of succeeding after high school into a high wage, high demand career, college, whatever it may be. We were 2 years ago at around 33%. And with the hard work of our principals in our schools, this past year we're at 64% of our students meeting that. And so
What, those percentages are what?
and those percentages are student seniors that have met an indicator that the state has said if you meet one of these or more of them, you have a better chance of succeeding in your post-secondary life. And so that awareness, I believe, has allowed us to move quicker into improving that number and having more and more students ready for whatever comes for them after they graduate high school. But just to answer your question, awareness is still a barrier.
So David, if I could follow up on that, because I worry about the bureaucracy and I worry about leadership transition, and really when a lot of investments can be underway, and I know this is a hard question to answer, but it's so important that we have an institutional commitment that moves forward despite who's in leadership and can help to keep the wheels greased for this moving forward.
Definitely, as you know, we are looking for our next superintendent. That process it's going to be on its way here soon, or if not already. But I'll say this, like we talked with our principals, and Ms. Reese will tell you, it's about the culture. Building this into our culture of the organization, that's going to be, it doesn't matter what leader is here, and that's what we're set out to do, is that it becomes about who we are. It's one of our pillars. It already is by words in our mission statement, but our actions is where we're heading to next. And I think that's how we address that. It has to become a part of what we do as our culture. Any superintendent, any principal, this will be on top of mind no matter what. But the systems have to be in place, the collective impact organizations have to be in place. And so I feel because of that, we're on the right track no matter who our leader will be. Dr. Scribner certainly has supported this work, and I'm sure the next superintendent will as well.
Something else we can do is talk with those we know in positions of influence to make sure they understand how important this investment is.
Certainly.
Yeah.
I would think the school board members
Yes.
should be people that we should be working with and talking to. If we know them, maybe trying to get a few of them together or something, let them look at that video we're doing right here.
Mhm.
But to me, I mean, it's really important to get for people instead of, because I know how that content, I watch, there's a lot of fighting, at that level, and they need to be focused on this is an answer that's very positive. And if people will, at that level, it is bottom up, is what you're saying, but it's also top down.
It is, and I'll certainly, we'll speak for at least our board here in Fort Worth ISD. They are committed to this effort and have been champions for this effort. In fact, our next contract is going before the board at the end of May, and they are all waiting for, they've been asking me for it. When is it coming? When is it coming? So that we can approve it. So you're absolutely right. Mayor Parker has been a huge supporter. City Council, I think those are all important people that we have to show that support and remove the barriers that may be there.
And here's a huge marker, I think, of that institutional buy-in, is that Fort Worth ISD is financially committed to this effort. They are redirecting resources because they see this is working. So it is changing fundamentally the way the institution is operating. Thanks so much to David's leadership. Do we have time for another question?
Well, I was just gonna piggyback off that and ask quickly, knowing the Gold Seal program and the other options that are there, is this in conjunction with that? Is it an alliance with that? Or is it becoming part of that structure which embeds that directly into what the school board would need for funding and to eliminate the change of leadership, things like that? Is that in place at all with the?
This structure is for all of our students, so it'll complement any program that whether it be our schools of choice or our Gold Seal programs, AP, dual credit, any of those programs we offer, CTE, this is a complement to that, and like I mentioned before, it's an accelerant. It's an accelerant to make sure that when they leave those pathways, wherever they may be, that they have the supports they need to be successful in a 1-year certificate, 2-year college, 4-year college, or if they go on to be attorneys, doctors, and they have, it's one thing I always say is, we're all going towards careers, how much education are you gonna need it for it? And so I think that's where we're embedding this throughout our programming. It's for every single one of our students.
Okay, was there another question there? Yes.
I'll be brief. I love the segue to that, just because I ended up being someone who graduated from the 26th grade, is what I always tell my students. I went to professional school, I went to med school, and went to school for a very, very long time. And so one of the things I'm super curious about in listening to the conversation today is it takes one thing to actually get the students to that place, but it also takes another separate effort to make sure that there is belonging and inclusion once they arrive there. And I'd be super curious to know more about how that partnership works, even at this level. I hear a lot of emphasis on getting them there, but if we want persistence and if we want that pipeline to continue, there has to be a focus on inclusion and belonging as well.
Natalie?
Absolutely, happy to take that initial question. One of the things that we didn't get a chance to talk about or dive into is the T3 model. And so when we talk about a decade, it's a decade of support for our students. So from 6th to 16th is where we lean in. And so the minute they graduate high school, we know that there needs to be that seamless transition, and we want T3 to be that transition throughout Tarrant County. Life changes for students. Students may have to take a detour and work and then come back, but the place that they can come back to is T3 to help them navigate those pathways. We also have strong team members and staff members. So we've got what we call the to and through crew. So post-secondary pathways that helps get them to that next step. And then we have college and career success that gets to the place where they're really leaning into persistence. And then we have our higher education partners and our community colleges who are aligned in this same goal and want to see that success. So I think when we talk about the power of partnerships, the power of this network, is what makes it so powerful is that there's this common alignment on the same goal for our students, and every single sector that comes into this network has that same focus, and it truly is, it's seamless. and it is powerful. So I appreciate that question, because there are a lot of things we need to look at for students, and we try to identify what are those things that may make it difficult and challenging, and let's address it before that challenge arises.
Great. Well, you know, we've talked in other circles and various conversations about, are we hand-holding kids too much, or are we, you know, trying to lay the path for them so that there's no skin in the game? But if I look back at my own experience coming through school, we didn't have a lot of financial resources, but my parents had high expectations. They exposed us to many different opportunities and pathways, and then they gave us encouragement to keep going when we stumbled and we fell down. And I feel like this continuum that they've developed is really mirroring what I experienced growing up, and I hope we can offer to so many other students in Tarrant County. So with that, I would love to hand it back over to Philip Wadington. He's market executive at JPMorgan Chase and a TCU alum.
You know, first, I just want to say thank you again to our panel for the valuable insights into the work that T3 and its partners are doing to help Tarrant County. Also want to thank Mayor Parker, all of you for being here today, and of course Rose Bradshaw for moderating today's discussion. So just real quick, I think the common theme that we heard throughout the discussion today was partnership and mentorship. And so just to reiterate, it's incumbent upon all of us together to work together to make sure that our workforce is set up for future success. So whether you're a corporate leader, nonprofit, school district, any organization in the community, it's up to all of us to work together to make sure our workforce is set up for future success. So, and I think to put it in a very simple form, I think our student success is all of our success. So we have a unique opportunity right now to come together and work together to make sure that our students are set up for success. So if you want to get involved, whether by partnering with T3 or by mentoring a T3 scholar in their junior or senior year of high school, there are QR codes at the table, so you can scan that, go to T3's website, and follow the prompts to get more information. So, and I think on the mentorship front, I did graduate from TCU, and I think back to the mentors that I had that started with me when I was at TCU all the way through my business career. And so you never know the effect you're going to have on people, and so having a mentor and being a mentor is extremely important. So I think just to close this out, I think it's the partnership between JPMorgan Chase and T3 that sets the standard. It creates a more equitable pathway and eliminates barriers for our students, and provides the financial and academic resources that our students need to be successful throughout their journey. So just want to thank you all for being here, and enjoy the rest of your day.